chair and moderator of the session has already given you a very, very sweeping overview of the major issues that are currently confronting the Indian economy. So I thought maybe I could supplement and complement his observations by adding to a few points that he's made. And let me sort of go in the reverse order. Oil prices. I think he's rightly pointed out that this government, the Narendra Modi government, was incredibly lucky that it got a bonanza of something like 10 lakh crores, as he pointed out. Now, I can say that even if you don't go by that estimate, certainly 7 lakh crore rupees, 700,000 crore rupees, was a benefit that directly came to the Union government because it increased the excise duties on petroleum products. Now, if you look at the way things worked, only 1/4 of the benign oil prices, crude oil prices, were passed on to the consumer. 3/4 of that gain came to the government. And today, we are in a huge mess because it's not only the coming 12 months in the run-up to the next general elections, but in the foreseeable future, there is every likelihood that international oil prices are going to remain firm or go up. Now, why does this matter such a lot for India? India is currently importing 80% of the country's total requirements of crude oil. And if you look at our total import bill, roughly 1/3 of the total import bill comprises crude oil. So this kind of, I should say, profligacy on the part of the Union government not to have utilized this bonanza is, in my opinion, has had terrible consequences for each and every citizen of this country. Diesel is what is called a universal intermediate. It enters into, there's a ripple effect because it results in transportation costs going up, and we are going to see inflation on the rise. If you will recall, during the 10 years of the UPA government, inflation was at a very, very high level. And food inflation, yes, food inflation was also very high. Now, what happens when there's food inflation? Because the underprivileged sections of society spend a higher proportion of their income on food, what we saw over the 10-year period of the UPA government was a widening of inequalities. That process has not only continued, the way things are going, things are likely to become worse. India was always an unequal society. But I think today inequality in India has reached proportions which are absolutely terrible. I think there are very few countries in the world where inequality, that is the gap between the rich and the poor, is so wide. Perhaps South Africa is one of them. There are various studies, there are various estimates that have been done, but inequality in India has really gone up. And many can argue that no, it's not the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. We can argue otherwise. We can say, okay, no, the poor are not getting poorer. But what cannot be denied is that the gap between the rich and the poor has widened and continues to widen at an alarming pace. And as Mr. Maharam already reported, this has fraught with consequences for our social fabric. Same problem, unemployment. During the 10 years of the UPA government, we talked about jobless growth. The BJP was at the forefront of talking about jobless growth. Today we have a situation where not only do we have jobless growth, we have a situation where even those sectors which are creating jobs are throwing out people. There have been job losses. And one of the defining aspects of the last 4 years of this government has been the attempt to fudge figures. It's very straight, you know. I mean, economists are in the forefront of doing this. The late Ashok Mitra, who just passed away on May Day, used to compare economists to Brahmins of the medieval times. They used to act as a buffer between the king and the masses. Their job was to use figures and statistics. That's exactly what's been happening. Somebody's looking at employees' provident fund data says to say that no, actually jobs have been created. The reality on the ground is that jobs are being lost. Not only are we not able to create enough jobs in terms of those who are seeking employment, but actually jobs have been lost. Don't believe me? Check it out. Go and speak to people even in the information technology sector, which had been in the recent past creating a lot of jobs. Two other points he's made which are very, very important, and we can discuss this in greater detail. The non-performing assets of the banking system have reached amazing levels. If you look at stressed assets, it's almost equal, or it's roughly equal to exactly the amount of money that the government has gave thanks to the oil bonanza. 10 lakh crores. And the interesting part of the whole story, that you are worried, I mean, you scream and shout and you say there's a moral hazard if farmers want their loans to be waived. But these loans have not been taken by farmers. Only a small proportion of those loans have been taken by farmers. The bulk of the loans have been taken by wealthy industrialists, and some of them, including my schoolmate Shri Vijay Mallya. Not to mention Lalit Modi, Nirav Modi. You can play my school, it's alright. No. You think Mehul Choksi is going to come back? No. You think Nirav Modi is going to come back? They've gone. Which are some of the biggest the companies where the non-performing assets are the highest? What is this non-performing asset? It's a euphemism for loans not being repaid. And the biggest culprits in this regard are some of the richest people in this country. The really big owners of capital, finance capital. Now, why is this important and why do you link it with farmers asking for loans? Is because, as has been pointed out earlier, the crisis, the ongoing crisis in rural India has worsened in the last 4 years. And I'm sure my colleagues